they feel is meaningful to them. And this is an important design principle. We can do this anywhere and everywhere if you design it properly. But if you ask them what the future is of hydrological levels in the Nile Basin, they won't have much to say. But if you ask them about how they relate to water, then you have a different story. So let's take 10 minutes. We'll come back. I'm going to do a little recap of the kind of pedagogy and the overall structure before lunch, since you've done really good work this morning. And then in the afternoon, we'll again be working in plenary to have a discussion about both level 3 and next steps. Okay, is that good? 10 minutes? Congratulations on your level 2. Good stuff.
I said 10, so we go. Well, we failed of this. Okay.
No, we have also, I don't know, we have
Oh, that comes.
Okay, I'm going to get going because you have to be careful. You know, there's an expression in English called you have to be careful what you wish for. And as it turns out, the conversation over the last day and a half has sort of inspired a couple of really terrific thoughts that I feel good about. So I'm going to try and share a little bit more material with you than I had intended to. So you'll have to forgive me for on the one hand giving you a lot, but on the other hand, it's your own fault. There you go. Okay, so let's start with complexity again. It's nice for us to try and think that there are patterns like this, but then all sorts of things start to happen, and how they emerge and when they emerge. I just wanted to sort of make sure that. So I want to revisit partly the purpose of reframing and trying to get beyond the existing models. Now, there's a very strong tradition, of course, and as I think I mentioned, I come from the econometrics, OECD, forecasting background. And one of the things, of course, that's very powerful about econometrics is that it takes the past and it formalizes a model about the past. It fits the data and the model together so that the model is accurate with respect to the past. And then it projects into the future. This is a very powerful way of forecasting. The difficulty is that it's not very effective in many, many ways. But particularly, it's not effective with complex emergence, or what Douglas North, the Nobel Prize-winning economist, called ergodic situations. Ergodic, not erotic. Ergodic situations, which are situations where the conditions of change. So this is what I was talking about yesterday. We're not in a chess game. When you can assume a chess game, fine. You assume a chess game, and then you have an ergodic model. But the world, as Douglas North says, and as he says in his famous speech, he said, most of the things we're interested in are non-ergodic. And so, in the branching model, you already see how difficult it is. Imagine if you wanted to get a model that was like this, that could guess at every branch where things were going to go. And you'd have this incredible ability to say, well, 2 months from now it would go here. 2 months from after that it would go there. 2 months later it would go there. 2 months later, so we're and then we're a year later. Wow, incredible! But nobody believes that. You can't do that. You can't even do that for economics, which is one of the best, because we know that 2 to 3 months later, inflation, prices of all sorts, growth, employment, all those things will change and will surprise us. So, one of the points of abandoning, in some sense, the version of the past that allows us to project the future as an extrapolation is to begin to get beyond this point of departure. This point of departure is our way of understanding the now based on a model and data that we have. And we can imagine certain futures on the basis of that using extrapolation. But we can't, in fact, imagine things that are outside that sphere. Starting from this point of departure and this model, you can get here and you can get there. You can get to this upper branch and the lower branch. But you can't get to this branch at all because you don't even start from here. So one of the questions is, how do we begin to start from a different place in the present? In the present. How do we start from a different place in the present? And that's where being imaginative and reframing in a way that is discontinuous from existing models is quite useful. Because it allows you to think of things that are outside even the cone of possibilities. People may know the familiar and quite well-known futurist approach, which is to have a cone of possibilities. This takes us outside the cone of possibilities because it's not even possible. It's a reimagine. And it's not about possible. Possible implies, well, possible. It has, even if it's low probability, it's possible. And what I'm interested in here is imaginable. It's not the same thing. And so, if we can come up with imaginable worlds and scenarios, not from the point of view of forecasting or prediction, we can actually find our way back to different points in the present. Let me say that again. By imagining outside the cone of possibilities, we have imaginary worlds which make us think of new things in the present. And I tried to give you little examples from this morning's exercise, where we rethink things in the present because we move outside the framework we use for imagining the future. And what we get is we get different ways of seeing now. So I want to emphasize this point. The really tricky thing is doing this better. This is not bad. Forecasting is important. I'm glad to know if it's going to rain and I can carry an umbrella. I'm glad we're talking about climate change and doing forecasting around climate change. But the fact that I know that the sun will rise or that the temperature will rise doesn't tell me what human societies will do, because they're complex emergent systems. And so I have the challenge of being able to detect emergent phenomena, different ways of seeing now, different ways of understanding the present, and understanding that the way I imagine the future deeply influences what I see in the present. This adds to what we already do in future studies. In future studies, we're very good at this, the cone of possibilities. And having many possibilities and putting them on, variables and metrics and all sorts of, and it's important. And it's important to do forecasting also, for the economy, for the climate, for all those things. But if our aim is to also become better at appreciating, understanding the richness of complex emergent reality that is continuously bubbling up with novelty, then I think what we have to be able to do is step outside that approach and add to the previous one. And there, what we're interested in is not all of this forecasting, but we're interested in the present and seeing the present in different ways. Now, part of this is because we're asking questions today about how to reconcile greater freedom with collective choices, embrace greater diversity without inviting fragmentation and chaos, foster greater creativity without increasing burnout and stress, inspire, not impose responsibility, motivate change without resorting to fear, manage risk without hierarchy, combine respect for complexity while still gaining depth of understanding. In other words, we're trying to do things we don't know how to do. So that's why futures literacy is relevant. And that's why futures literacy as a process and a topic that we're discussing today is emergent. It's not, it's in progress. It's under construction. So